Anyway, so tell me, where were you born? This is about you, Chuk. And by the way, I told you too, your name is the same as my brother's, minus the U, because my older brother's named Chuku.
Chuku.
And he got it from
I'm Chuk. My real
Chuk.
name is Arsenio.
What?
Arsenio. Do you know, or Arsenio, like Arsenio Hall?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Spanish version.
Right.
Arsenio is the Russian or the Slavic version.
Okay.
Arsène is the French, Arsène Lupin is the French thief.
Okay.
Yeah, so my real name is Arseni.
Right.
My mom objected to that name, so she used the nickname Chuk, which is a Russian nickname usually given to boys and has something to do with a native tribe, indigenous tribe from Siberia called the Chukchi.
Okay.
So I don't know, when everything was peaceful and I was liked, I was called Chuk. When things were not going well with the family and my parents were angry with me, for some reason they called me Arseni, so I have this kind of allergy to the name Arseni.
So where were you born?
I was born in Kobe, Japan, Western Japan.
Okay.
So there's Osaka, Kyoto, Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like the Kansai three
I know
big
exactly where it's
cities,
at.
you know where it is.
Yeah.
It was a very
So
cosmopolitan.
tell me, but how many kids in your family?
4.
And where are you? You're
I'm the baby, way down the line.
The 4 above you, what are their sexes?
I have 2. My oldest brother,
Mhm.
Misha.
He's the
Michael,
first?
He's the first. He's
Okay.
15 years older. And then Alexander, Sasha, he was 13 years older.
Right.
And my sister, Katerina, Teta, is 5 years older.
How many years between you and your older brother?
15, 13, 5.
Wow.
So I was
So you were raised almost as the only child?
kind of towards
Kind
the
of,
end,
yes.
yeah.
Your mother, by the same mother and father? All
That
4
same
kids?
mom and dad, yeah.
Are they still alive?
No, they are gone. Joseph and Helen. They were Russian refugees from China. They came to Japan in 1953.
So that's your ethnicity?
That's my parents', kind of like cultural identity. There
Okay.
is no ethno-Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, Lance, we should get this out of the way.
Let's get out of the way, because you tell me, no, the reason why is because you said you're Japanese.
Ethnicity and race are social constructs.
Okay.
Man, wanted to categorize or delineate humans.
Mhm.
So, you do things based on how you look, or, what language do you speak, or what part of the world you came from, and what religions you adhere to at that time. And then, you are categorized. In a way, it's okay. Like, it's kind of like when we were kids and we were collecting, I don't know, I grew up in Japan, so our summer projects were usually collecting bugs.
Right.
You kill them
Right,
and you
right.
pin them
Pin
off
them up,
the
pin them up
thing.
thing. Well, we did a little
Right.
bit of that too.
Yeah, and what's the genus, what's the ethno,
Right, right.
it's like everything categorized, like this
Right.
is the lineage kind of
Right,
thing, right?
right.
So, but at some point when humans wanted to control other humans, mostly through violence, they delineated people
Mhm.
based on how they look or where they came from, and then you were put in a certain caste based on
Mhm.
that. But it's not like if you looked in the microscope or the MRI in nowadays lingo, you can determine an ethnicity or a race just by looking at cells and molecules. It's not like
Well,
that.
how do they do? Then how do they do the genealogy?
Yeah.
Because I've done it.
Genealogy is a separate thing from race and ethnicity.
But they tell you which race and ethnicity you are when they come back, even if they haven't seen who you are. They can tell you.
They fall back to the artificial categorizations.
Right, and what they've associated that too.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you. I
So,
got you. I got you.
everybody is mixed heritage.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
It'd have
is
to be.
mixed culture. You have to be.
But excuse me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want the people out there to get upset with me because they're religious and stuff. So if Adam and Eve were the first 2 people, okay, I won't go there.
Don't go there.
I won't go there. I won't go there. I won't go there.
They might have come from
Had
China
to be incest,
for all
right?
we know,
It could have
right?
been incest. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, so you're Japanese.
They're white,
right?
by the way.
Yeah, shoot, that's an impossibility.
Okay, well, there
See,
you
see.
go.
See,
That's
I know it's,
thank
it's
you. You're
impossible.
already speaking my language.
Be impossible at that time.
So
I don't
it's
think
impossible to say you are this ethnicity or you're
that's
this
right because we
race.
came from. Okay, good.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, I mean, in a way, I'm a little
It's-
tan today, so.
Right, you are, because you're usually a lot paler than you are. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Chuk.
But I'm just saying, you know, so if you.
But do you have, okay, so
Yeah.
you identify as, because everyone, you need
Yes,
an
okay,
identity.
good.
You're male.
We're coming to that word identity.
Identity. What's your identity?
Well, okay, so identity is how I identify myself.
Mhm.
That's where the word comes from.
Okay.
And I must say, for a lack of better categorization, I do identify myself as Japanese. Why? Well, I grew up speaking Japanese. In fact, I grew up speaking Russian and Japanese, but simultaneously.
Do you still speak Russian? I know you speak Japanese.
I do. I mean, it's not college level. I try to catch up, but you know.
But you read and write Japanese.
I read and write Japanese.
Okay.
I read and write English.
English.
I can read Russian. I can't write it. When it comes to speaking, you know, it falls behind.
But you can make your point.
Yeah,
first.
you know,
you can get fed.
Yeah.
You can go to the store. You can tell them
You know,
someone to
if
stop.
there was
Right.
a nice Russian gymnast in here, I could
You talk
chat.
your way into it. Okay. How many kids do you have?
I have two boys, Noah, 11, and
Did I
Luca,
work with
9.
them?
You work with them?
Did they ever come in my gymnastics program? No.
No, but you know, I
They
think
never got
Luca
involved.
would really benefit
No,
from that.
Luca.
Do you do it here?
How old are they now?
11 and 9.
They're too old. I only go up to age 10.
Oh.
I used to go up higher.
Well, so
but I've
maybe
stopped.
the 9 one can do it the last
Possibly.
minute.
But we haven't been, possibly here.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we do it on, well, anyway, that's another thing.
Oh,
Anyway.
yeah, I want to hear about that.
So tell me, so tell me your life. You were born in Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
the last of 4 kids.
Yeah.
Your parents were still together,
Yeah.
but when they got mad, they wouldn't call you Chuk.
My mom especially, she would call Arseni, and then I would like, hey, okay,
You knew, okay.
what's up, you know?
All right.
What's up, Mom?
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Japanese schools.
You never went to like the
Well, no, I
Canadian
went to-
Academy?
I
or-
went to ASIJ when I was 13, just graduated from Japanese.
Well, then your parents had moved to Tokyo.
It's okay, so 0 to 11, I'm in Kobe.
Mhm.
Because of my dad's work, we moved to Tokyo when I was 11, joined the Tokyo American Club at that time. It
Mhm.
was a tent. They were
Basically.
building the old one.
Wait, what year was 1970?
This is 71.
Right, because the new club was the club prior
It
to
was
this
being
one.
built.
1974.
Being
Exactly.
built.
Exactly.
My first minute
Oh, so
stake
you
in a
remember
tent.
this. Do you have any pictures from that time? It would be so nice
I think
for
my
our
sister might.
archives.
I have a picture of my birthday party with my best friend from
In the tent?
Toyama Shogakko. It was already a structure by then. We were paying full fare for a tent.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So 0 to 11 Kobe, 11 to 14 Tokyo, 14 to 24 U.S. San Francisco, Santa Fe, Annapolis, and then
Well, wait, what did your father do?
my dad was a trader, import-export. Do you know the building right next to the Russian embassy, Amerex?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yeah.
it. That used to be his company, Amerex International.
Well, that was his building?
That was his building. Well, he had partners.
Okay, okay.
And when the gold standard collapsed in 1974,
Mhm.
you know, the company
Went belly up, okay.
went belly up, or would have gone belly up, so they liquidated and we moved to the States.
Why didn't he name it Amerex, do you know?
I think he came in as a later partner. He had some Russian Jewish friends that were based in New York who recruited him to work with them in Japan. Yeah.
Was he Russian Jewish?
We
Did he
are
Jewish?
Russian Orthodox.
Orthodox,
so
okay.
we are Christian, you know,
Yes,
kind of
okay.
household. But apparently he was born Catholic and then baptized Orthodox.
Okay.
Because my parents were raised in a town called Harbin in
Mhm.
Manchuria,
Mhm.
and it was very cosmopolitan, but also predominantly Imperial Russian influence. So if you wanted to be with the ruling clique or
You
the
did- you
caste,
had to be with
you
them.
had to be Orthodox.
How old were you when your parents passed, each of them?
They passed a little more than my mom passed maybe 15 years ago. My dad
Okay.
passed about 10 years ago.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she preceded him, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was a smoker.
And but they stayed together.
Don't do it.
They stay, I never
Don't
have. I
do
never
it.
have. Not cigarettes anyway.
Okay.
The whole time. The whole time.
Pardon me.
The whole time they stayed together.
They did. They never parted. But when we moved to the States, my dad had a bit of an existential crisis. You know, they made their life and livelihood and raised their family always in a colonial setting, whether it was Harbin, Manchuria, you know, Russian colonialism, later Japanese colonialism, or Japan, which was, by the time my parents came here, essentially a U.S. colony.
It was occupied.
Yeah, it was. It was unoccupied in 1952, but
certainly after
the military is still here.
After
and
that.
they
What do you mean it was unoccupied in '52?
Japan went independent in '52.
But still, we still had more bases here than you could count on.
Exactly. So you know, for all intensive purposes, and plus, I don't think Japan has an independent economy or foreign policy. So.
Right.
So, you know, so what I'm saying is that they were, and I think this is a bit where the kind of the patriarchal racism comes in. My parents were used to this kind of like benevolent rulership. So whether it was China or Japan, being white and being of certain means meant that you had more control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over your future, over your destiny, over anything you did.
Anything you did.
Right.
And when we moved to the States, you know, which is in those days predominantly white, that whole sort of his universal understanding of his status or class or caste was questioned, and I think he felt extremely uncomfortable with that. So he was eager to leave, but by then my mother had already kind of, you know, started to lay down our roots in the States. I was going to junior high and high school. My siblings were either graduating from college or already graduated and had, you know, lives. She didn't want to leave her kids, so she didn't want to go with my dad, and he said, okay, I'm gonna do, I don't know, in Japanese it's called dekasegi, or, you know, when the father goes elsewhere to work.
Just the mother stays there.
Yeah,
you just send the money back. They
never divorced, and as far as I'm aware, he always took care of the household. He would visit every few years, or we would go visit him more often than not. He really had a disdain for the I don't know, United States or like American culture.
The emerging classes. The emerging classes.
Exactly. The uneducated, you know, whites, you know, what do they know?
Not just them, yeah, but
yeah.
I can see your father already.
Yeah.
Listen, let me ask you, are you close with your siblings?
I am. Sasha passed last year.
She's the second?
Sasha's the second oldest brother. He lived in Colombia and he succumbed to some ailment, you know, kind of.
How long ago did you say?
Just last year, October.
Wow.
It was kind of sudden. And I don't really, it's hard to, because we couldn't travel and we still can't travel. It's hard to know the circumstances, but apparently he went to a hospital because of a stomach ailment, went under the knife and never got up. And then I have a brother, Misha. He lives in Paris.
He's the oldest.
He's a retired college professor. And my sister Katerina lives in Berkeley, and she's a retired banker. And yeah, I speak to my sister every day. I try to call my brother at least once a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's really, because then that space between you, I mean, it's 15 years.
We're all that's left, and you know, in a way, although I object to terminology like ethnicity or race, we do most identify with each other because of our unique background, growing up in a Russian cultural, imperial Russian household, but also having this commonality of Japan, and then, you know, kind of feeling like
it's very human what you do.
Yeah, so we are very connected.
That's why you talk about this, right? I guess you would. Do they both have kids?
Misha chose not to have children. He's very much a hermit. And my
he didn't get married either?
He got married, I think, you know, we don't have any hesitation to marry. Okay. So he probably was married, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
My sister is the only straight and narrow. She only got married once, and she's still married, and she has 2 boys, Matthew and Nathan, really lovely nephews.
So you guys produced the boys. Did you?
Sasha had a son. He lived.
So you guys
in
don't
Nikki.
produce girls? Wow.
We don't produce. Yeah, we're very set up for the patriarchy, man.
You sure are. You are set up for it. The thing that you're against so much, you really help to set it up.
Exactly. And my dad was
My goodness.
patriarchal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why. See, we tend to. It depends. Did you get along with your father?
I did.
You did?
He was very good to me.
Because he'd learned from the older boys. He'd beat them enough that
That's
he learned
right.
that didn't
He
work.
never touched me.
That's how I was. I'm
And
the youngest
my,
son.
my brothers are like, you know,
They
man,
knew
you
what it felt
lucky.
like.
Man,
'Cause
you
he-
lucky.
He came in some days, just hit them just for
He
principle.
didn't touch my sister either, but he didn't touch me.
Same here. My father would not talk to me.
My mom did.
My mom, not. I won't even say.
She wouldn't
My mother tried
hesitate
to
to
come
slap.
She never, yeah, she did it once to me, but that was it, and it was no big deal. And I didn't respond to it, and that made her mad. Yeah.
One time I didn't mean to run away from home, but this is Kobe, so we're living in this big.
You didn't mean to.
big
You
house.
accidentally ran away
big,
from home.
Big house with a wall. I think it was a summer holiday. I'm probably first grade.
Okay. Okay.
And I see a Yakulto lady. You know the Yakult.
Yeah. Because they used
These
to
are
come around all
women
the time.
that sell
Yogurt-like drink,
yeah,
small
you know,
yogurt drink. Yeah.
dairy
Right.
products, sweet dairy products.
They probably still do that out in the country.
And she delivers it to all her
Yes.
clients around the
Right,
neighborhood.
right.
And I'm looking from top of my house or something, and she's with her little boy or girl, and I'm like, you know, she says, you know, boy, I'll give you one. You know, I'm like, oh sure, yeah. And so I go down, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm delivering. Do you want to come with us? You know, and I'm
You
like,
didn't run
sure.
away. You just went off and
Yeah, I just
followed
went up.
someone.
So I was gone for probably a good couple hours. I came back to a house surrounded by cops with my mom and my nanny and my.
They thought someone
my
had taken you.
brother. They thought somebody had taken me. They're all like waiting in front of the gate, and I come. She's whipped down my pants in front of everybody.
That's
and
right.
oh
Made
my
sure you wouldn't think about doing that
God.
again. How old were you when that happened?
First grade, I don't know.
Oh, six years old, yeah. I bet you never followed another yogurt girl again, woman again. I bet you see yogurt, I bet you didn't even drink another one.
No more Yakults for me, man.
So tell me,
Yeah.
you finished school
Yeah.
at ASIJ? Is that where you finished high school?
No. So
You went
I
to
went
States.
I went through Japanese school system, kindergarten and elementary.
Mhm.
Graduated from Shinjuku Kuritsu Toyama Shogakko, and then because I didn't speak English, my parents had neglected the English side of my education, so they put.
Well, how'd you talk to your brothers and sisters? In Japanese only?
My sister Japanese, my brother is Russian.
Okay.
And so my sister was a student at ASIJ. They had all gone to international schools. I was the only non-international
Mm-hmm.
school educated. So they put me in ASIJ. I went for, I guess, about, I don't know, 6 months or a little less before we moved to San Francisco.
You remember the year you went there?
This is, so 1973, 74, something like that. Yeah.
I
My
came
sister's
to
a graduate there. Yeah.
And I came to Japan in '74 in the Air Force.
I see.
Yeah.
So you were based
Based
in
in
Atsugi
Yokota.
or
At
Yokota?
Yokota. Atsugi's a naval.
Oh,
base.
naval, that's right.
Yeah. So
Oh,
okay. So
yeah.
then you went to San Francisco, and then did you graduate there?
Yeah, I graduated from high school in San Francisco, and then I went to a very old, small liberal arts college called St. John's,
Okay.
and it's based in Annapolis, Maryland,
Mhm.
one of the oldest colleges in the United States, but they had a campus in Santa Fe. So I started there, did my first 2 years in Santa Fe.
What were you focused on? Or anything?
St. John's does nothing except for the Great Books program.
Okay.
So
you
it's
read
the
a lot.
classics from,
Gotcha.
we started with Homer, ended up with Einstein.
But let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
You come to the States, you couldn't speak anything but English, basically. You had a little
Yeah.
bit of ASIJ, so you weren't afraid to hear it,
I
but
could
you only had a
hear
couple
it,
of
yeah.
months. You
Yeah.
had a couple of months of it.
I had a good year.
So how were you treated when you got to the States as a little
Well,
kid?
look, so in Japan, you go. I went through this kind of thing. It's like gaijin da, right? Kindergarten. Every time I moved schools, the first
The
moment,
gaijin.
the precarious moments, there was this kind of gaijin da, but when you're little, and it's more about
Did you have blonde hair?
I had hair, and it was
I
blonde.
mean, okay, wait,
Yeah.
it's Ricky, I'm just I'm
So
asking.
it was
Because that would make you stand out even more so.
Yeah, and there were even in a cosmopolitan urban area like Kobe, the international kids went to international schools. So I'm the odd
Ball
white
out.
kid
That's
out,
right.
right?
That's right.
So I mean, if they took a class picture with the principal and everybody, I'm in the middle.
They
And
get
this was strategic,
The-
balance.
Right, balancing, right, of course. They always
Right.
do that, right.
And of course, Kobe being a very inherently multicultural place.
Because of
and it's
support,
about a
major
third
support.
of the population are Korean Japanese.
Mhm.
So I think there were quite a lot of those kids, but they're not visibly so, and they speak Japanese extremely well, so they can hide it. The names were also changed. They were the Kakyo, or the Chinese Japanese kids, but they tended to go more to their own. They had Chinese schools, and the ones that couldn't afford it, I'm sure, blended in and never mentioned it. So I was the only
It was for
other.
sure.
Other.
Right, other, right.
And there were these kind of like tense, potentially violent moments. My mom made sure I had judo, and
But were you afraid to use it? Or were
I
you-
was not.
so you were aggressive. You could be aggressive.
It took care of it immediately. I just did one throw, but didn't let the hand go. Scared them, and then I would say, "You want to be friends, or you want to die?" And when
That's good. That's
when
good.
you're 5, 6, 7,
That's right.
8, 9,
Makes
10,
impression. Yeah.
you choose life very
Very soon.
smartly.
But that's good that you have, because just because a child learns the martial arts doesn't mean they have what it takes
They
to
taught
use
me
it.
that much.
That's right.
I
Just
think that
enough
was
to
my
know.
mom. She
Right.
was like, don't let them push you around,
Right. That was that with my
but-
boys.
but be kind.
That's right. If they allow you to be. Yeah.
Insist on
You're
kindness.
right. Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, I think that's, I guess, I said, what do I say? She said, well, do you want to die or you want to be friends? Say that. Like, okay, Mom.
And it worked.
Okay,
It worked.
practice with me.
Isn't that interesting how we
Yeah.
get little things? I was taught to say basically, look, if we fight, one of us is going to get hurt, and it doesn't have to be me.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
usually when someone starts fighting, they're thinking what they're going to do, but they don't think about the pain
That's
that they
right,
might
that's
receive.
Right. I've had that
And
all
that would
throughout.
stop so much.
That right. But Lance, so when I moved to the States when I'm 14,
Mm-hmm.
but by then I also know more about violence.
You just got to see more.
And I know where it can lead to. I mean, from a kid just, being embarrassed in front of the whole class with his back on the sandbox, and me towering over him, to a kid pulling out a bat
I understand.
and
Hitting somebody
coming
across the head.
at me with it. And I've had that, even up through 14. But then when I moved to the States and they put me initially into a public school, day one, a kid pulled a knife on me. I did my flip thing, and his friend pulled a knife on me. And I'm like, okay, what, Mom, how far do you want me to take this?
Right, exactly.
And she moved me to like a white school, a private.
Oh, so you
white
went
school.
in, that wasn't a white school you're talking about.
No, I went to like a public school. I think
Okay.
it was Hoover High, or God know what it was.
George Washington High.
It's something,
That's
one of
what-
those slave owner high schools, right?
Jefferson High. That's right, exactly. Exactly.
I don't
Jefferson
know.
High.
Yeah.
That's right. And you had the kids there, so you stood out again, but this is
But this time it's like
wasn't
I
in a good
don't
way.
fit in a different way.
That's
So
right.
like you look like you belong, kinda, but you don't speak the language and you dress weird. And so the only people that talk to you or are interested in you are usually women. Where did you come from?
Right,
Oh, that's
just
so
curious.
interesting.
You're not a threat to them.
What's
yeah.
that shoe you're wearing?
Right.
What a cute bag. A pink polo shirt. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So immediately by the guys, even the white guys, I'm weird or I'm gay
Okay.
because you're different.
Okay.
I don't fit in.
Right.
It probably helped that I played balls, and then you kind of start.
They can see what you like.
You can
yeah.
begin to communicate without having to
What,
use
what
language.
sports? What sports did you like?
I did everything. I mean,
What did
in
you
Japan,
prefer?
I
What did
did-
you like?
I don't know. I probably, what did I like the most?
So you weren't on
Probably
any...
volleyball. I did.
Okay.
U.S. is seasonal, so I did swimming, baseball, soccer, volleyball.
Football? Did you ever do football?
No.
Okay.
I
Track and
wanted
field?
to. I did, yeah, but the season coincided with, I think, soccer, and I broke my ankle and went for.
You guys have a gymnastics team?
We did not.
Okay.
It wasn't that.
Not even tennis?
No,
You didn't have a tennis
in
team?
high school we did, but by then, I was already
Okay.
sort of down my thing. There was lacrosse in high school. I was really interested in that. I played around. That looked like fun. But I guess volleyball was the most fun. I really enjoyed being a setter,
Okay.
and that feeling of I don't have the height and the power,
But you can
but
help
I can
them.
set it up. That was kind of
That's
fun.
nice. You like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they spike that bad boy. You
I,
like that.
come to think of it, I'm a producer now. I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's
we're gonna
when
get-
I
we're gonna
would
get into
started
that.
being
I
a
like that.
producer.
Is that right?
Yeah, I produced a match.
There you go.
Yeah.
Without being aware of it, but that's what you were doing.
But in retrospect, that's what I was doing.
You were setting everyone
I
up
was
so they
setting
could
everybody up.
be their
I
best.
got, no matter what it was, I got the second ball.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And they had one more, and you put it right there where they could take that bad boy. And just
Yeah, and if they mishit it, I would.
because you're assistant director right now. You're assistant.
I'm an executive producer.
Executive producer. That's
Yeah.
what you were. Executive producer.
So
But was that your only title? Is that the title
well,
you
I
use the
did-
most?
I've done everything. I started in politics. I moved to advertising.
We're here in Japan.
Yeah, I worked for the LDP, a think tank.
But what did you do while you worked for them? What was your job?
East Asian policy, U.S., Japan,
Okay.
U.S.,
Gotcha.
Korea, a little bit of China, and then also like public affairs, media relations.
What year was this? What years did you do that?
This is like 87, 89.
87, 89?
Yeah.
Okay. So for 2 years you were doing that, huh?
2 years I did that. It was pretty interesting. And then, but I became a little disillusioned. It was basically a think tank that was preparing for Prime Minister Miyazawa's sort of like, play on power.
Mm-hmm.
So he had about, 20 members of parliament. You needed 20 or 25 to, I think it's 20, to legislate,
Okay.
to propose a legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to build a faction.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a member of that think tank. It was really interesting work. I did media relations and East Asian affairs.
Mhm. But you said you became disillusioned, huh?
Well, I don't know if you remember those days, but that's when couple of the prime ministers, one started dealing and recruit unlisted stock.
Mm-hmm.
So there was all this graft
Mhm,
going
mhm,
on.
mhm,
And then there was another prime minister who was, buying women for 300,000 yen a night.
mhm. You thought that was too much?
Huh?
You thought that was too much, or you thought you shouldn't be
I
doing
thought
that?
it was too much that all the other members of parliament were like saying, oh my God, they're going to come after me, But and also they were saying
yeah.
things like, no, he paid 30, I only paid 10.
Right, okay, there was an yeah.
Idiots, right?
Right.
Like absolute idiots.
So you didn't like the humanity, you didn't like that side, seeing that side of it. You thought
I
they'd
did
have a little
not-
more restraint than
I
they had.
thought they were like honorable public servants, and they had no sensitivity to public servitude.
Okay.
And that just became blatantly clear. And plus, it didn't help that I was living in an 8-mat room with my girlfriend.
I got you.
And,
You're looking at how they just.
An international, a global advertising agency said, "Hey, you come over here, we'll get you a house, all that kind of stuff, membership, that kind of thing." So I fell into the capitalism track for a while.
Okay.
Went to advertising agency.
You went to which advertising agency?
Do you know Gray Dyco? They've split. Gray Advertising,
Okay.
Gray
Yes.
Worldwide.
Yes.
Procter and Gamble.
How long were you with them?
Quite a while, like full time about 3 years, and then part time about 5. And
And
then
what did you do there?
I was strategic planning manager. I was
Okay.
setting up new business pitches.
Wow. Is that, and then from there, then you became executive director?
No, then a few friends of mine started a company, so I joined. It was a media company that did out-of-home media and also in-store media, but we sold it, and then I went to grad school. Had some means, so
Where?
I went to Columbia
Okay.
to study Japan.
So you were- Wait, but this stuff was already, you were already in Japan.
I was already in Japan.
So then you had enough money, so you went to Colombia.
Went to Colombia.
Okay.
So you see, growing up and identifying with Japan, having a Japanese passport, but looking the way I look, always being questioned about my identity and my Japaneseness. You're not really Japanese, or if I say I'm Japanese, people would politely laugh, but it was laughter.
Well, you had me, that's why I said, let's do this podcast. I said, don't explain to me now. You're going to explain to me here. I want more people to hear this. Because I like you, and I thought it was fantastic. Every time I see you, too. Every time I say, I like that, and I like hearing that, because you can't help but grow if you're receptive.
You always looked at me, even when I'm just walking by, like I'm a person, and that's all.
How am I supposed to look at you?
I don't know. I'll just look at you like you're this or you're that, or you fit in or you don't fit in. You were just like, there seems to be a nice man, and we're having eye contact.
But it's funny when the people are standing there and they come through, and some of them are afraid to give me eye contact. Some of the people are afraid to, and I'm thinking, why are they afraid to? You'd always look at me and kind of smile and laugh.
Yeah, you can only guess.
Yeah, they said, what are they thinking? I said, what are they thinking? I'm just here. But most people should know my position, what it had been here.
So it helped. That's why I was asking you, where are you from, when you're asking me, where am I from? Because then it gives us context.
Better context, about each other. Because you didn't know. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
If you could look any way, let's say you could just put this hood on, get in an MRI and look the way you want to look, how would you look? Do you have have you any thought about it?
Yeah, I've had that thought. Like, would I have been happier in Japan if I looked more, kind of Asian or whatever?
No, I mean right now.
Right now, I would look the way I am. I'm
so you
totally
like who you
fine.
are.
I'm glad my hair is gone. It's much easier. I'm glad.
So you like yourself
eyebrows,
exactly the way you are.
I kind of do. I mean, there's things I wish I was, a little more this or a little more that. But you know what? I've learned to love and accept myself, because I'm a dad now. If I don't do that with myself, how are my boys going to grow up? You know what I mean?
Well, can I ask you how old you are now?
I'm 59.
59.
Yeah.
When do you feel you really started feeling that way? Because your boys are pretty old now. I mean, you said 9 and 11. 9 and what?
Probably the end of my second marriage.
How old were you when that happened? I mean,
I
don't know how many marriages have you had?
I've had 3. I'm on my third and last.
Okay.
In Japanese, there's a word that says third time the truth.
So
we're kind of like the third time the charm, right?
Right.
No, I'm done. Yuki's the one.
Well, all of them Japanese.
Die in her arms.
Were all Japanese?
No, the first one was a New Yorker, U.S. citizen.
Okay.
I think she's McVeigh is Irish or Scottish. Irish.
Could be Scottish.
Yeah, Scottish or Irish. One, I think she was Irish. Yeah,
okay.
Irish American girl. She still lives here, and then.
Oh, she's in Japan.
Yeah, and we're very good friends. And then the second one was.
No children though.
No children, and the second one was a Japanese national of Asian descent. Her parents probably came from. I don't know.
No English?
Micronesia or
Did she have any English?
She was quite fluent. She was I think she was an AFS student or an exchange student? So she went to high school in the U.S. alone, and then we met at Columbia.
Okay.
So she was quite fluent.
She's the one you had the children by?
No, I never had children with her either. I had my first 2 kids with Yuki. This is my third and last marriage. Thank you, Lord. And at the end of the second one is when I realized I was trying to change myself for her and her parents. They especially her parents, maybe especially her mother, was extremely uncomfortable with who I was.
Who were you?
Well, the fact that I'm Japanese, the fact that I'm not non-linear in my career. I even became a banker to appease that household, because the father had banking roots. He worked for the huge public investment bank. So they just did not want to accept me the way I was. They wanted me to, for example, change my name. They couldn't make me change the way I look, but they wanted me to be less noticeable. Don't be so overt. Don't be so public.
Mm-hmm.
Can I turn that off?
Yeah.
I was, too opinionated, etc., etc.
You kept on telling me he's not Japanese. It's not.
Yeah, he's not Japanese. No, he's not really Japanese. And then, sort of, when that ended, I realized how unhappy.
What do you mean it ended? This is your last marriage.
Home.
This is marriage. What?
The second wife, they took her home.
You're talking. That's right. So that's the second one that you had the kids by.
No,
you didn't. The one you have now, you had the kids by. But the second one you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
They took. That's the one you tried.
They tried to.
That's when you found out who you really were, and you started to decide you like yourself.
Kind of, yes.
Okay.
It helped me that
because you jumped through all these hoops.
Yeah, I jumped all these hoops to appease them.
Right.
Kind of became a banker, added Japanese characters to my name. Mm-hmm. They didn't like the name I chose, etc., etc. But long story short, it ended up in it was a tragic ending.
In what way?
Well, we loved each other very much, but she was extremely unhappy in the lack of family support structure that she had for the marriage, so that negatively impacted our relationship. And when she kind of had a breakdown, and the mother took her home, never to come back, I realized that I need to accept and love myself for who I am, with all my misgivings and inappropriatenesses, but I am who I am, and unless that is a given and accepted by me, how can I even hope for a happy family? You know what I mean?
So when you accept that, do you think it's something that you have to express to the person you plan on being with? Let them understand?
Yes.
I mean, like, you just don't go blah, but when you come to those parts of your life, like, for example, they want to know how you feel about taking charge in the family. They might have said decision making.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that you should be the one to make the final decision, or does she make the final decision, or do you guys come to take a vote or something? I mean, but whatever, you have to let them know how you feel about it.
If it's a household, and I don't believe in the patriarchy, so I do believe that it has to be a full and fair partnership between the father and the mother, if you have children.
But fair is also a concept, because if the person doesn't like cooking, the other one loves cooking.
That's
to me, it may not look fair.
That's where we work it out.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's where we work it out. But I don't say, God damn it, cook, woman.
Oh, exactly. Oh, see, that's different. See, that's a whole different thing.
But that's
a patriarchy. You think so? Do you think it has to be mean?
I don't think it has to be mean.
It has to be forced,
but
to have a patriarchy.
But tell you what, the way
most of them tend
that
to be.
Society and most operate is, at the end of the day, there is some kind of a fear that the one in control exerts that brings everybody under control. That's the worst kind of household of any kind. I don't care what you call it,
but shouldn't there be some sort of, okay? Listen, we're animals.
We're animals.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
We certainly are.
Because I read something the other day where someone was really upset that when they found out that chimpanzees sometimes kill each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So someone put up a list of the things that kill humans. So I forget, the first thing was, I think, a virus, and the second largest killer of human beings are human beings. But people are so concerned about the finding out that other animals kill themselves, but at a far lower rate than we do.
At least within my moral structure, you can't be okay with that.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, we do live.
Just like you can't be okay with disease killing you, you got to fight it, and you got to do.
You want to work on it.
Take the steps that.
But someone very wise told me once,
Chuk,
that you can't get out of life alive.
Exactly. So you got to accept death, but you can't accept murder.
But I remember those times. But now being here, and the older I get, the more you learn to respect and to have more of a reverence for life.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're at the other end of it.
Yeah.
You know, we're on the other side of that
there
mountain.
You go. So we're, you know, hey,
So you know what I mean? That's how I feel. So you try to preserve a little bit, and I think there's enough of us getting to that other side to where it's going to help to bring this world to a little bit nicer place than we've known in the past. Because in the medieval times, 25 was max. So you're just starting to learn lifespan. So people, that's why you had heads cut off, and it was very gruesome, and it was just they didn't have enough life to start to cherish
it meant nothing, and that's why there were things like slavery, and that's why women were treated.
But they're going to continue to have that, and there still is. Chuk. So you started liking yourself, and that's helping you along with your kids.
And that was the journey I kind of began. Well, I don't know when I began the journey of trying to like myself. I probably began with my parents loving me so much.
And you did feel that love from them?
When I had this, so within my career trajectory, so when we started this company and we were lucky enough to sell it, I had some means, and because I grew up in Japan, always identified as the other, whereas I felt like I belonged, because once I fit in with my friends and school and society, I felt very much an important integral part of it. I was whether it was a sports team or a class committee or best friends. It was a lovely experience, and yet I'm called the other, and sometimes treated quite poorly because of it. My dad always had all these books about Japan around him. He would fall asleep with books about Japan around him. And I inherited a lot of it, and I started reading, and I got into this thing about, this is really interesting. There's so much I should learn about Japan that I didn't learn in school, And so I became really intrigued with if I don't belong to Japan or the Japanese, what is Japan, or who are the Japanese? So I wanted to study that.
Yes.
And the first thing I realized when I had means, I thought, I should go to grad school. Why not? Just 2-3 years, get a master's.
That was really Columbia.
Focus on Japan.
Columbia.
Yeah, but the way that I got to Columbia was I realized really quickly, I thought I would study Tokyo University or Waseda or, what's the best place in Japan to study Japan. There is no Japan studies in Japan. No. There is no integrated Japan studies program in any place of higher education in all of Japan.
Why is that?
Good question. Because they don't think it's a question. What is Japan? What is Japanese? What do you mean? Just look at it. You don't know Japan? Don't you understand it?
But they've created this tribe already.
Well, there you go. The key word is creation.
Because they're from everywhere.
There you go. So the United States, when it was preparing for the victory of World War II over Japan, just the way that it prepared for its victory over Germany or eventual victory over the Soviet Union, what did it do? It set up places of concentrated learning about those places and the people that control those places. So the European studies, the Russian studies, the Japan studies was a dedicated national resource allocated series of institutions that were set up all over the United States and in places like UK. So I found out very quickly that if I wanted to study Japan in a horizontal discipline, I had to go out of Japan. And then when I started looking at all my options, I could have gone to, SAIS, Johns Hopkins, or the, Kennedy School in Harvard, or, St. Andrews and Oxford. But Columbia was the one that focused most on history and culture and politics. They had their best areas. And I also realized that a lot of the books that I started feeling, hey, this is kind of getting to the secret of how Japan was created.
Let me ask you something, Chuk. Did you go to Disneyland here in Japan when they first opened?
Yeah, I did.
You remember the Ascot Center?
You mean in Florida?
Not in Florida. This is after Florida, but it was an Ascot Center. They had the history of Japan. You came in, and you could stand up, and they gave you the history of Japan. They talked about when the Chinese came over, and then they took it out.
I don't have that memory.
I do.
I must have missed it.
Because I came over, but they had it.
They had it.
They sure did, and they talked about how it came together. They took it out.
They took it down.
Now that I'm done, that's interesting.
Where it comes from.
So they really had that at the beginning.
Meiji Restoration, there was a concerted policy planning of how do you put together this disparate people living in the Japanese archipelago. How do you make them have a sense of nationality? And let's incorporate this artificial construct of ethnicity.
It wasn't them that only that started ethnicity.
But no.
Okay, but they had it. But they imported. They used it. Okay.
They went to study it.
That's right. Okay, I understand.
In places like Germany and the United States.
You're right, of course. Yeah. Well, I'd say England
and they
too.
said, "Hey, this would
England
work for us.
Best, yeah.
We all look the same, so let's just say this is a race, and we all, if we policy-wise establish this concentrated education system, in 2-3 generations we would all speak Japanese and not speak any other languages because there were many other.
But let's close ourselves off from the world, basically, for over 200 years. Well, they had some.
Yeah, mentally, because that was a time when they had to open it up.
Okay.
So there was this. How do we do that within this system of, the reason that was so required at that time, if they didn't band together, they were going to be colonized. They saw that.
This started happening everywhere. Yeah.
Right. So
they did study in England, not the U.S. so much as they did in England.
Pardon?
Because I said the Japanese studied in England more so than the U.S. because
they studied more in Austria and Germany.
Oh, that's right. That's true. That's
medicine,
true.
politics,
that is so true. Because all their medicine was German. You're right. You were 100% right.
Yeah, and schooling was better there at that time.
Yes.
So they really quickly realized that they have this potential of incorporating this, European-centric way of casting society within a race and ethnicity, and they created the story of the Japan. And who's going to be, patriarchy, father. Who's going to be the national, because we need to be a family, who's going to be the national family head? Well, there's this 16-year-old kid. Nobody knows he's the emperor, but they had their own kings, but let's make him the father.
Right.
It had to be male because the state had to be prepared militarily to combat colonialism, so it better be a man because women can't fight. Although historically there were Japanese empresses that were very, very good warriors.
But then again, the last thing last thing you want to do is, for men, is to have the person that can produce more of them damaged. You have to protect that. You understand? Man can't make babies.
Yeah, the excuse or the rationale was, at this point, if we don't ban and systematize ourselves in this kind of, let's learn how they take things over. And how do we counter that? We better have something very similar that is just potentially just as strong, or strong enough that they don't think it's worth the damage that it would cause them. So hey, done. So there's a dad, absolutely, he's a god.
That's right. The emperor's a god.
If he says die, die.
Die. If you look at him, die.
If he says kill, kill.
That's right.
If he says,
that's right.
This woman is your concubine, she's your concubine.
That's right. That was wonderful.
So everything was then established. So, I learned that at Columbia, and then I came back, and I meet this woman at Columbia that is trying to ostracize me from the family because I don't fit in. The dad, or in that case the family unit, didn't feel comfortable with my alienness. They felt as though it would adulterate the family and cause it collapse. And I tried everything I could, career-wise, demeanor, extra care, you name it. And yet, no. And then it ended in a tragedy, a divorce.
Mm-hmm. How many years had you been together?
7.
7 years, okay.
You know,
okay, you don't have to go into it.
I don't think things are good over there.
I understand.
Things are good here because I reset myself. I mean, you can tell my wife still worries that I'm too overt, or I get noticed too much, or I'm adamant about.
What you have around you, Chuk, is a very pleasant aura.
I'm
not. You don't have to thank me. That's what you have around you, and it's very, very warm and very accepting. But people are afraid of that.
Yeah, you got to first accept yourself.
That's right. People get afraid of it, but you're accepting. It's not like you have a judgment at all. You're looking at people the way you say I look at you. You're just looking at another person, and people can feel that.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to interpret it. If they're not good with themselves, that's almost like fear.
That's true too. And
that's what I've learned.
I can't just like ram it down somebody's throat either. You know what I mean?
You
can't do that with your kids.
You sure can. You sure can.
There you go. And you have 4. Respect, man. I wish
I had
so many.
4 sons.
I just don't have the means.
No, 4 sons.
Awesome. And I've seen them. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
You have to give that credit to my wife.
There you go.
Really.
There you go.
I'm just very happy that they still come and talk with me, and that they know that they've been loved and that they will continue to be loved. That's the only thing I can say.
There you go.
With them. And I always tell people all the time is that a lot of people like to say that our children represent our future, and I say they don't represent your future. Your children represent your past, because the only thing you can teach them is what you've already learned. Now, what you, on the other hand, represent to your children is their possible future. So you have to do all you possibly can to show them. You have to do all you possibly can to show them what's possible.
Amen.
It's not on them; it's on you.
Amen. And they're
watching you every single second.
Call it patriarchal, but my wife and I had a really good. I mean, it's an ongoing conversation, but we've come to this full agreement that we must insist on them being educated, with the aim that when they graduate from high school, the decision is theirs. What do they do with it? But we don't want them to be in that position to say, oh, I wish I would have prepared for that, or I wish I would have prepared for that. So you're going to make
sure they get prepared for it.
So the ultimate goal, strategic goal for us is that upon graduating from high school, they could go study anywhere in the world. How do we do that? Well, leaving them in the Japanese system, that's a dead end. Leaving them in the only American system, that too is a dead end, because I'm quite worried about your country.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I want them to have the international baccalaureate option, and you can't do that just in ASIJ or something like that. So
what are you doing right now, and how would you like to leave this podcast?
Well,
where are you at in your life right now?
Yeah, I'm probably, I don't know. I'm probably that place in my life where I'm really trying to balance helping to sustain my family. I am kind of like by default the breadwinner, and yet I don't want to sacrifice also that I am in the later stage of my life. So that I want to do work that matters.
Well, that Ainu documentary you did was fantastic.
So
what was the name of it? It was called Ainu?
I'm trying to combine what I'm best at doing and where I can lend value to an institution, be it a company or whatever. Make the means that require to sustain my family, especially the education of my kids, and yet kind of make me feel like I'm leaving behind work that matters. Something that my kids can look back to and say, my dad did that. And I'm trying to focus more and more on the kind of work, the creative work, storytelling, that helps tell my Japanese brethren that they need to relearn their own story, that they really need to reassess, reconsider where they came from and how they are where they are. And I think storytelling is really important. in that regard, because it was storytelling that got my brethren to believe this almost like, divinity-based story of the Japanese and the purity of Japan. Unless it unlearns that and allows it to open up to the world, I think we're kind of headed towards some kind of certainly not sustainable society. So
wait. Couldn't you apply that to some other societies we know
exactly,
about?
but
okay.
my heart and place is here. So, for example, thank you for watching my Ainu film.
That was fan. It was really well done.
It's a story. I've been doing a stories of focusing on documentary stories that focus on the journey of women's empowerment. Mm-hmm. So how a woman comes to learn to aspire to a certain future that makes sense to her, and learns how to take a step that gets her closer to it. Mm-hmm. Because I do believe that there is lack of representation of women in Japanese society, and that's part of what really ails it today. And I combine that with the Ainu woman because I think it helps even the woman realize that there is inherent diversity in Japan, which should make her be more interested about, okay, so where do I come from? What's my ancestry? I've never really thought about it,
One question about the Ainu documentary you did, which anyone can find if they type in Ainu on YouTube, they can get it.
Please type Ainu, My Voice.
A-I-N-U.
A-I-N-U, My Voice.
My Voice. And bingo, they'll get it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a 19-minute version. There, if you're got
no,
Hulu,
mine was longer. Mine was a long version.
No, yours
mine was
is 19.
That wasn't 19 minutes I watched.
Well, maybe you watched it on Hulu then, but Hulu is 40 minutes.
Maybe it could have been 19 minutes is all that was?
Minutes.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
It seemed like it was long because it took me all the way through.
Oh,
the question I had about that is her husband Ainu?
Her husband identifies as an Ainu. He's the grandson of the first and last Ainu member of parliament.
Okay. Because I was wondering, because I don't think that was said, was it?
We focused on her.
I know, right.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, because if she's not married to an Ainu, then there you go.
No.
Diversities. Now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could breed it out of you.
Yeah,
in a way. So.
Well, Japan, in a concentrated way, tried to breed the Ainu out of Japan.
Oh, of course they did.
Yeah. It was even called the Doka Seisaku, assimilation policy. Kind of not unrelated to what was happening with the indigenous people in the United States.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Look, I want to thank you, Chuk, for taking the time.
Thank you.
For giving me this wonderful time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
I want to tell all of you, please subscribe, press like, and remember, it's all unknown. Continue to reach for the stars, and you're too blessed to be stressed.